The stars looked cold and distant from the observation deck of Kepler Prime. Commander Li Huan stood with his hands behind his back, watching the massive alien ships drift past the space station like metal mountains. Each one was bigger than anything Earth had ever built. Their dark hulls gleamed with strange lights and weapons that could destroy entire cities. "They want to see our ship," said Dr. Park Yuna as she walked up beside him. Her voice was quiet, almost whispered. The Dominion Fleet Commander sent another message. "He says Earth must show them what we have been building." Li Huan nodded slowly. He had expected this day would come. For 200 years, humans had been exploring space, building colonies, and trying to make friends with other species. But the Galactic Dominion ruled most of the galaxy. They were powerful, ancient, and they did not like surprises. "What does Admiral Kim say?" he asked. "He says we have no choice. If we refuse, they might attack Earth directly." Park Yuna looked tired. She had been working for months to prepare their ship for this moment. "The Taeguk is ready, but I'm not sure it is enough." Through the thick glass, they could see their ship floating in the station's docking bay. The Taeguk looked small next to the alien vessels. It was sleek and white, with smooth curves and no visible weapons. Most people would think it was just a transport ship or maybe a research vessel. That was exactly what they wanted people to think. "Commander Lee," a voice called from behind them. Captain Cho Minho walked over, wearing his Blue Earth Defense uniform. His face was calm, but his eyes showed worry. "The Dominion representative wants to meet with us in 1 hour." Li Huan turned away from the window. "Are you ready for this?" "As ready as I can be," Cho Minho said. "The crew has run every test we can think of. OG1 knows every system on the ship. Nam Subin has checked all the communication equipment 3 times. We are prepared." But they all knew that being prepared and being ready for what was coming were 2 different things. The meeting room was large and cold. The Dominion officers sat on one side of a metal table that was too big for the space. Their leader was a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and a spider. His name was Overlord Vexitari, and his voice sounded like grinding metal when he spoke. "So these are the humans," he said, looking at them with 4 yellow eyes. "You are smaller than I expected." 2 other Dominion officers laughed. They made harsh sounds that hurt to hear. Behind them stood more aliens wearing dark armor and carrying weapons that hummed with energy. "We appreciate this opportunity to meet," Li Huan said politely. "Earth is honored by your interest in our work." "Interest?" Vextari leaned forward. "We are not interested. We are concerned. Our spies tell us you have built a new type of warship. In this galaxy, all weapons must be approved by the Dominion." Dr. Park Yuna stepped forward. "The Taeguk is not exactly a warship. It is an experimental vessel designed for exploration and research." "Show us," Vextari commanded. They went to the docking bay where the Taeguk waited. The alien officers walked around the ship, pointing and talking in their strange language. Sometimes they would touch the hull with scanning devices or take pictures with equipment that glowed. "This is your great achievement?" one of the officers asked in broken human language. "It looks like a toy." "The design focuses on efficiency rather than size," Park Yuna explained. "Our fusion plasma engines provide excellent speed and range. The hull is made from new materials that are very light but strong." Vexitari climbed onto a platform to look down at the ship from above. "Where are the weapons? Where are the shield generators? How does such a small thing protect itself?" "We have developed new types of defensive systems," Li Huan said carefully.
"Our shields work differently than traditional designs." The Dominion officers laughed again.
"Shields?" Vextari made a sound like breaking glass. "This little ship could not stop a single shot from our smallest patrol vessel." Captain Cho Minho felt his face get hot with anger, but he said nothing. Admiral Kim had told them to stay calm no matter what happened. "Perhaps you would like to see the Taeguk in action," Park Yuna suggested. "We could run some tests." "Tests?" Vextari jumped down from the platform. "Yes, let us see these wonderful human technologies work." They moved to the station's main computer center. Park Yuna connected the Taeguk systems to the station's scanner so everyone could see what the ship could do. On the big screens, they watched as the engines started up. Blue light flowed along the hull in patterns that looked almost alive. "Fusion plasma reaction is stable," Ojawan reported from inside the ship. "All systems are running normally." The aliens watched as the Taeguk moved through a series of simple tests. It accelerated quickly, turned sharply, and demonstrated its scanning equipment. To human eyes, it was impressive. To the Dominion officers, it was a joke. "This is what you are proud of?" Vextari asked. My personal shuttle has better performance. The real innovations are in the power systems and defensive capabilities, Park Yuna said. Our engineers have made several breakthroughs that we think will interest the scientific community. Breakthroughs? Another alien officer stepped forward. Humans have been in space for only 200 years. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000. What could you possibly teach us? Vextari held up one clawed hand. Enough. I have seen enough. He looked directly at Li Huan. Return to your little planet. Tell your leaders that the Dominion is not impressed. Your people should focus on farming and mining. Leave warfare to those who understand it. But surely you can see the potential, Li Huan began. Potential? Vextari laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. The only potential I see is for embarrassment. One of our patrol ships could destroy 100 vessels like this one without even slowing down. The other Dominion officers nodded and made agreeing sounds. Some of them were already walking away as if the humans were no longer worth their attention. We will be reporting this demonstration to our superiors, Vextari said. They will find it very amusing. The humans think they can build warships. As the aliens left, their laughter echoed through the docking bay. The sound followed them down the corridors and seemed to bounce off every wall. Li Huan, Park Yuna, and Cho Minho stood in silence for a long moment. Around them, the Teguk waited quietly, its hull reflecting the station's lights. Well, Park Yuna said finally, that went exactly as we expected. Are you sure about this? Cho Minho asked. Are you sure the ship can do what you think it can do? Li Huan looked at the Teguk one more time. Such a small ship to carry such big hopes. We will find out soon enough, he said. The news spread across Earth faster than wildfire. Every television, every computer screen, every communication device carried the same story. The Galactic Dominion had laughed at humanity's greatest achievement. They had called Earth's most advanced warship a toy. In the Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva, Admiral Kim Dae-ho sat at a table surrounded by angry voices. Politicians, military officers, and scientists all talked at once. Some wanted to apologize to the Dominion. Others wanted to hide and hope the aliens would forget about Earth. A few wanted to fight. We cannot let this stand, said General Harrison, slamming his fist on the table. They have insulted not just our military but all of humanity. What do you suggest? Asked President Chen, her voice tired. Should we declare war on an empire that spans half the galaxy? We should show them what humans are really capable of, Dr. Yoon Hyuk said quietly from the corner of the room. The old physicist rarely spoke at these meetings, but when he did, people listened. The Teguk is not what they think it is. Admiral Kim leaned forward. Explain. The technologies we demonstrated were only the basic systems, Yoon Hyuk said. Dr. Park and her team have been very careful about what they revealed. The Dominion saw what we wanted them to see. Commander Li Huan, who had returned from Kepler Prime that morning, nodded. The aliens think they understand our capabilities. They are wrong, so what do you propose? President Chen asked. Li Huan stood up. A formal challenge. Single combat between the Teguk and a Dominion warship of their choosing. If we win, they acknowledge that Earth deserves respect. If we lose, he shrugged, we lose one ship instead of our entire planet. The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. It would be a suicide mission for whoever flew the Teguk. The Dominion would never accept such a challenge, said General Harrison. Why would they risk their reputation against us? Because they are arrogant, Li Huan replied. They think it would be easy. They would see it as entertainment. Dr. Yoon Hyuk pulled out a small device and projected images into the air above the table. The pictures showed technical drawings and equations that most people in the room could not understand. The Teguk carries experimental technology that we have never tested in combat, he said. The fusion plasma engines are connected to quantum tunneling weapon systems. The defensive matrix can adapt to any attack in real time, and the space-time distortion field, he paused. Well, that is something the galaxy has never seen before. You are talking about theoretical physics, said Dr. Martinez, the science advisor. None of this has been proven to work. It works, Park Yuna said as she entered the room. She looked like she had not slept in days. We have run every simulation possible. The mathematics are correct. The engineering is sound. Admiral Kim studied the technical drawings. What are the chances of success? Against a single Dominion warship? 90%, Park Yuna said. The problem is that they will not send just one ship. When they see what the Teguk can do, they will send everything they have. Then we make sure the whole galaxy is watching, Li Huan said. We broadcast the fight live. Make it impossible for them to hide what happens. President Chen looked around the room. And who would pilot this ship? I will, said Captain Cho Minho from the doorway. He walked in wearing his flight suit, carrying his helmet under his arm. The Teguk is my ship. I know every system, every control. If anyone is going to do this, it should be me. Minho, his friend Captain Lee Soo-young called out as she hurried after him. You cannot be serious about this. I am completely serious, Cho Minho replied. Someone has to show these aliens that humans are not afraid. The debate continued for hours. Some people argued that it was too dangerous. Others said it was impossible. But slowly the idea began to take shape. The challenge would be sent through official diplomatic channels. Earth would propose single combat between the Teguk and a Dominion vessel of equal size. The fight would take place in neutral space with representatives from other species as witnesses. 3 days later, the response came back. The Dominion had accepted Overlord Vextari himself had chosen Earth's opponent. The Sovereign's Wrath was a battlecruiser that had destroyed more than 50 rebel ships without taking serious damage. Its captain was a legendary warrior named Kethmore, who had never lost a battle. The fight would happen in the Vega system, in an asteroid field that provided interesting terrain. Ships from a dozen different species would be there to watch. Betting pools had already opened on dozens of worlds. The odds were 1,000 to 1 against Earth. In the weeks before the battle, Dr. Park Yuna and her team worked around the clock. They installed new systems that had never been tested outside of computer simulations. Engineer Oh Ji-won memorized every circuit, every connection, every backup system. Lieutenant Nam Subin practiced emergency communication protocols until she could send distress signals in her sleep. Dr. Kang Woo-jin, the weapons specialist, made final adjustments to the quantum tunneling systems. Remember, he told Cho Minho during the last training session, these weapons do not work like normal guns. They ignore shields and armor completely, but they take enormous amounts of power. You will only get a few shots before the system needs to recharge. How few? Cho Minho asked. Maybe 3, maybe 4 if we are lucky. Analyst Ryu Jamin had spent months studying Dominion technology. He knew their ships better than most alien engineers. The Sovereign's Wrath is fast and heavily armed, he explained to the crew. But it was designed for overwhelming firepower, not defense. If you can get past its shields, the hull is actually quite fragile. How do we get past shields that can stop planetary bombardment? Oh, Ji-won asked. We do not go through them, Dr. Yoon-hyuk said with a smile. We go around them. The night before the battle, Cho Minho sat alone in the Teguk's cockpit. The ship was docked at Luna Station, Earth's moon base. Through the viewport, he could see his home planet, blue and white and beautiful. Captain Lee Soo-young came aboard with a bottle of soju and 2 cups. Drinking before a mission? Cho Minho asked. Drinking with a friend, she corrected. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching Earth turn slowly in space. Do you really think this will work? Soo-young asked. It has to work, Cho Minho replied. Not just for Earth, but for every species the Dominion has conquered or enslaved. Someone has to show the galaxy that the Empire is not invincible. And if it does not work? Cho Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then at least we tried. At least we did not bow down and accept defeat without fighting. The next morning, the Teguk left Luna Station and jumped to hyperspace. The journey to Vega would take 12 hours. When Cho Minho arrived, he would face the most dangerous ship in the Dominion fleet. But he would not face it alone. Hidden in the Teguk systems were technologies that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The question was whether they would work when it mattered most. As the stars streaked past in hyperspace, Cho Minho allowed himself to hope that Earth scientists had been as clever as they claimed to be. He would find out soon enough. The Vega system looked like a graveyard of broken worlds. Ancient asteroids drifted in complex patterns, some as large as cities, others no bigger than houses. This was where civilizations had fought and died millions of years ago, leaving behind only rocks and radiation. It was the perfect place for a battle. Captain Cho Minho brought the Teguk out of hyperspace at the edge of the asteroid field. Immediately, his sensors lit up with contacts, ships, hundreds of them. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to watch Earth's humiliation. Contact, Lieutenant Nam Subin reported from her station. Dominion Fleet Commander is requesting communication. Put him through, Cho Minho said. Overlord Vextari's ugly face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Cho Minho could see the bridge of a massive command ship. Alien officers moved back and forth, preparing for what they thought would be a quick execution. Human pilot, Vextari said, his voice dripping with amusement. You have come a very long way to die. Are you certain you wish to proceed with this foolishness? Earth stands by its challenge, Cho Minho replied calmly. We are ready to begin when you are. Excellent. Your opponent awaits you in the center of the field. The Sovereign's Wrath has been looking forward to this meeting. The communication ended. Cho Minho took a deep breath and began piloting the Taeguk into the asteroid field. Behind him, Engineer Ojiwan checked the ship's systems one last time. Fusion reactors are stable, she reported. All defensive systems are online. Quantum tunneling weapons are charged and ready. Space-time distortion field, Cho Minho asked. Standing by, said Dr. Yoon Hyuk's voice over the intercom. The old scientist had insisted on being aboard for the battle, saying his theories needed to be tested by someone who understood them. As they moved deeper into the field, Cho Minho activated the external cameras. What he saw made his heart sink. The Sovereign's Wrath was beautiful and terrible. It looked like a living creature, all curves and flowing lines. Its biometallic hull seemed to breathe in the starlight. Weapons ports covered its surface like scales on a serpent. The ship was 5 times longer than the Taeguk, and probably 50 times more massive. Around the edges of the asteroid field, observer ships held their positions. Cho Minho could see Dominion vessels, but also ships from the Free Traders Alliance, the Centauri Republic, and dozens of other species. Everyone wanted to watch the humans get destroyed. Attention all observers, came a broadcast from the Dominion command ship. Combat will begin in 60 seconds. The rules are simple. Fight until one ship is destroyed or surrenders. No outside interference will be tolerated. Cho Minho activated the Taeguk's internal communication system. All crew prepare for battle. Remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for everyone who has ever been told they were not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy of respect. In the engineering section, Ojiwan made final adjustments to the adaptive shield system. The technology was Dr. Park Yuna's greatest achievement, but it had never been tested against real weapons. The shields could theoretically learn from each attack and develop specific defenses in real time. The key word was theoretically. 30 seconds. Nam Subin announced. Dr. Yoon Hyuk was in the ship's special laboratory, surrounded by equipment that most physicists would not understand. The space-time distortion field was his life's work, based on research that stretched the boundaries of known science. It could manipulate gravity itself, creating effects that seemed impossible. 10 seconds, Nam Subin said. Cho Minho gripped the flight controls. In a few moments, he would find out if Earth scientists were geniuses or if he was about to die in the most expensive suicide in human history. Combat began now. The Sovereign's Wrath opened fire immediately. Streams of plasma erupted from its weapons, each blast powerful enough to crack a planet's crust. The shots lit up space like artificial suns racing toward the tiny human ship. Cho Minho did not try to dodge. Instead, he flew straight into the incoming fire. The plasma struck the Taeguk's shields and something amazing happened. Instead of being destroyed, the energy was absorbed. The shield system analyzed each attack in microseconds, learning its frequency, its power level, its method of delivery. Then it adapted. The second volley from the Sovereign's Wrath was partially deflected. The third volley was almost completely absorbed. By the fourth attack, the Taeguk's shields were turning the alien weapons into harmless light shows. On the Dominion battlecruiser, Captain Kethmore stared at his tactical displays in confusion. What is happening? Why are our weapons not working? Unknown, Captain, his weapons officer replied. Sensors show the human ship is still intact. In fact, it appears to be getting stronger. Aboard the observer ships, alien commanders watched in shock. The little Earth vessel was not just surviving, it was adapting to everything the Dominion threw at it. Impossible, whispered Admiral Torquin of the Centauri Republic. No ship can withstand that kind of firepower. But the Taeguk was not just withstanding it. Ojiwan was redirecting the absorbed energy into the ship's own systems. The fusion reactors were running at 150% of normal capacity. Every system on the ship was supercharged. Now, Cho Minho said quietly. The Teguk fired back. The quantum tunneling weapons did not look like much. They appeared as small pulses of distorted light, almost invisible against the stars. But they did not travel through normal space. They tunneled through reality itself, bypassing the laws of physics that protected the Dominion ship. The first shot materialized inside the Sovereign's Wrath's engine room. The explosion tore through bulkheads and systems that had never been designed to handle internal attacks. Alarms screamed across the alien ship as entire sections lost power. The second shot appeared in the weapons control center. Secondary explosions rippled through the biometallic hull as ammunition stores detonated. Captain Kethmore felt his ship shudder around him. How are they penetrating our shields? How are they hitting us inside the ship? No one had an answer. The third quantum tunneling shot struck the Sovereign's Wrath's main computer core. The beautiful flowing lines of the alien ship began to dim as systems failed across its length. Enough, Captain Kethmore roared. All weapons, maximum firepower. Destroy that ship. Every gun on the Sovereign's Wrath fired at once. The combined attack could have sterilized a continent. But the Teguk's adaptive shields had learned too much. They not only absorbed the attack, they reflected it back at the source. The Dominion ship's own weapons struck its hull with devastating force. In the silence that followed, Dr. Yoon Hyuk spoke from his laboratory. Minho, I am reading massive gravity distortions from the Dominion ship. Their space-time drives are destabilizing. Can you compensate? Better, the old scientist said with a smile in his voice. I can make it worse. Yoon Hyuk activated the space-time distortion field. Reality bent around the Teguk like light around a black hole. Gravitational waves rippled outward, invisible but incredibly powerful. When they struck the damaged Sovereign's Wrath, the alien ship began to come apart. The biometallic hull, designed to be flexible and adaptive, could not handle the stress of having space itself twisted around it. Metal screamed as the ship was stretched and compressed by forces that should not exist. Surrender, Captain Kethmore broadcast. We surrender! But it was too late. The Sovereign's Wrath broke apart like a flower opening its petals. Debris scattered across the asteroid field as one of the Dominion's most feared warships died. In the shocked silence that followed, alarms began sounding on every observer ship. More Dominion vessels were moving. Not one or two, but hundreds. The entire Dominion fleet was converging on the asteroid field, abandoning all pretense of fair combat. All ships attack. Overlord Vextari's voice screamed across the communication channels. Destroy the human vessel. Destroy it now. Cho Minho found himself facing not one enemy ship, but an entire armada. Over 1,000 Dominion warships were moving toward him, their weapons charging for a coordinated attack that would turn the Teguk into atoms. Well, he said to his crew, this should be interesting. The space around the Teguk filled with enemy ships like stars filling the night sky. Dominion vessels of every size and shape moved into attack formation. Battle cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and patrol ships all converged on the single human vessel. Captain Cho Minho had faced impossible odds before, but never like this. His tactical display showed red contacts in every direction. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Contacts numbering over 1,000, Lieutenant Nam Subin reported, her voice steady despite the fear they all felt. All ships are charging weapons. Energy readings are off the scale, Engineer Ojiwan added from her station. When they fire all at once, the combined attack will be stronger than a solar flare. Dr. Yoon Hyuk's voice came from the laboratory. Minho, I am detecting massive power buildups across the enemy fleet. We have perhaps 30 seconds before they coordinate their attack. Cho Minho stared at the tactical display. Any normal ship would have run. Any sane pilot would have surrendered. But the Teguk was not a normal ship, and Earth had not sent him here to surrender. All systems to maximum power, he ordered. Adaptive shields to full defensive mode. Prepare quantum tunneling weapons for rapid fire. Sir, Ojiwan said carefully. The weapon system was not designed for multiple targets. The power requirements alone could overload our reactors. Then we find out what this ship can really do, Cho Minho replied. Across the Dominion fleet, weapons officers received their final orders. Fire on my command. Destroy the human ship. Leave nothing behind. Overlord Vexitari stood on the bridge of his command vessel, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. One small Earth ship against the might of the Dominion fleet. It would be the shortest battle in galactic history. All ships report ready, his communications officer announced. Fire, Vextari commanded. Space exploded into light. Over 1,000 ships fired at once. Plasma beams, particle cannons, gravity bombs, and quantum disruptors all converged on the Teguk's position. The combined attack was visible from the edge of the star system, a burst of energy that outshone the local sun. When the light faded, the observers expected to see empty space where the human ship had been. Instead, they saw something impossible. The Teguk hung in space like a small star surrounded by a shell of pure energy. The adaptive shields had not just absorbed the massive attack, they had transformed it into something new. The ship was glowing with power levels that should have been impossible for something so small. Status report, Cho Minho called out, though he could hardly believe they were still alive. Shields holding, Ojiwan reported, her voice filled with amazement. All systems are functioning. In fact, we are running at 300% of normal power levels. How is that possible? The adaptive matrix is using the enemy attacks as a power source, Dr. Yoon Hyuk explained from his laboratory. Every shot they fire makes us stronger. The Dominion fleet fired again, pouring even more energy into their attacks. The result was the same. The Teguk absorbed everything they threw at it and grew brighter. This is impossible, Captain Kethmore's replacement muttered on the bridge of another Dominion battlecruiser. No shield technology can do this. Keep firing, Overlord Vextari ordered. All ships continuous bombardment. Something that small cannot store infinite energy, but they were wrong again. The Teguk's quantum tunneling weapons came online with a sound like reality tearing. Cho Minho had never heard anything like it. The weapon system was supercharged by the absorbed energy, operating far beyond its design specifications. Targeting multiple contacts, he announced. Firing. What happened next changed everything. Instead of the small, precise shots the quantum weapons had fired before, they now created waves of distorted space that rippled outward from the Teguk like rings in a pond. These waves passed through normal matter as if it did not exist. But when they encountered the enemy ship's power cores, they created devastating resonance effects. The first wave struck a dozen Dominion vessels simultaneously. Their reactors overloaded and exploded, tearing the ships apart from the inside. The second wave hit 20 ships. The third wave struck 50. Impossible, Vextari screamed.
How is one ship destroying so many of our vessels?
But the Teguk was just getting started. Dr. Yoon Hyuk activated the space-time distortion field at full power. The effect was unlike anything seen before in galactic history. Space itself began to bend and twist around the human ship, creating gravitational anomalies that affected everything within a light-minute radius. Dominion ships found themselves being pulled in different directions by forces they could not understand. Some were crushed by sudden gravity wells. Others were torn apart by tidal effects. Still others simply vanished as they were pulled into temporary black holes that appeared and disappeared in seconds. What is that ship? Admiral Torquin whispered from his observation vessel. What technology allows such power? On Earth, Dr. Park Yuna watched the battle through long-range sensors. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. The Teguk was performing far beyond even her most optimistic calculations. The adaptive systems are learning faster than we predicted, she explained to the gathered scientists and officials. Every attack pattern, every weapon frequency, every shield configuration the Dominion uses is being analyzed and countered in real time. How many ships have we destroyed? Admiral Kim asked. Current count is over 200, an analyst reported. And the Teguk is accelerating. In the asteroid field, the battle had become a nightmare for the Dominion fleet. Their most advanced warships were being destroyed by a single human vessel that seemed to grow stronger with every passing moment. Captain Cho Minho felt like he was riding a tornado. The ship's systems were operating so far beyond normal parameters that he could barely keep up with the status reports. Fourth quantum wave firing, Ojiwan announced. This wave struck nearly 100 ships, causing chain reactions that destroyed even more vessels. Space-time distortions are affecting enemy formation cohesion, Dr. Yoon Hyuk reported. Many ships are colliding with each other or being pulled into unstable orbits. Sir, Nam Subin called out. I am receiving surrender signals from multiple Dominion vessels. Too late for that, Cho Minho replied grimly. The Dominion had broken their own rules when they sent the entire fleet against one ship. Now they would face the consequences. The fifth quantum wave destroyed the last of the Dominion's heavy battle cruisers. The sixth wave eliminated their carrier groups. By the seventh wave, only smaller vessels remained, and many of those were already fleeing toward the edge of the system. Overlord Vextari found himself alone on the bridge of his command ship. Most of his officers had abandoned their posts when it became clear that the battle was lost. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Dominion military, was being erased by a single enemy vessel. "This cannot be happening," he said to himself. "Humans are primitive. They are weak. They cannot defeat us," but his sensors told a different story. In less than 20 minutes, the Teguk had destroyed or disabled over 800 Dominion ships. The survivors were scattered across the star system, running for their lives. The space-time distortion field reached its maximum range. Reality twisted and bent in ways that would give physicists nightmares for generations. The last group of Dominion vessels was caught in a gravitational anomaly that compressed them into a sphere of super-dense matter before releasing them as a cloud of atoms. Then, suddenly, it was over. The Teguk hung alone in the middle of the asteroid field, surrounded by debris and the fading energy signatures of destroyed ships. Its hull still glowed with absorbed power, but the glow was beginning to fade as the adaptive systems powered down. In the silence that followed, every observer ship in the system received the same transmission. It was Captain Cho Minho's voice, calm and professional. "This is Earth Vessel Teguk to all observers. The demonstration is complete. We hope this clarifies humanity's position regarding our place in the galaxy." Across space, representatives of dozens of species stared at their screens in shock. The Galactic Dominion, the empire that had ruled for 10,000 years, had just suffered the most devastating defeat in recorded history, and it had been delivered by a single ship from a species they had considered primitives just hours before. The age of the Dominion was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin. The news traveled faster than light itself, carried by quantum communication networks that spanned the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, in 1,000,000 cities, beings stopped what they were doing to watch the impossible footage that was being broadcast everywhere. The Galactic Dominion, the empire that had ruled space for 10 millennia, had been destroyed by a single human ship. Captain Cho Minho sat in the Teguk's command chair, watching the debris field that had once been the Dominion's grand fleet. His instruments showed scattered survivors fleeing toward the edge of the system, but most of Overlord Vextari's armada was gone, turned into cosmic dust by weapons and technologies the galaxy had never seen before. "Damage report," he said quietly. Engineer Ojiwan checked her displays with hands that still shook slightly. All systems functioning normally. The adaptive shields absorbed so much energy that our power reserves are actually higher than when we started the battle. "Casualties? None," Lieutenant Nam Subin reported. The ship's hull was never even scratched. Dr. Yoon Hyuk emerged from his laboratory looking tired but satisfied. The space-time distortion field performed beyond our wildest calculations. "We will need months to analyze all the data we collected." Through the viewports, they could see the observer ships hanging motionless in space. Representatives from dozens of species were trying to process what they had witnessed. Some were already transmitting urgent messages to their home governments. Others were requesting permission to approach the Teguk. "Sir," Nam Subin said, "we are receiving communication requests from over 50 different vessels. The Centauri Republic wants to discuss alliance terms. The Free Traders are asking about technology exchanges. The Outer Rim Coalition is requesting military assistance against remaining Dominion forces." Cho Minho nodded slowly. Everything had changed in the span of 20 minutes. Humanity had gone from being a barely noticed species to the most powerful force in the galaxy. "Put me through to Earth," he said. The transmission delay seemed to last forever. When Admiral Kim Daeho's face finally appeared on screen, his expression was a mixture of pride, relief, and amazement. "Captain Cho," the Admiral said, "I believe congratulations are in order. Your mission was a complete success." "Thank you, sir." The Teguk performed exactly as Dr. Park and her team promised it would. "Better than promised," came Dr. Park Yuna's voice as she stepped into view behind the Admiral. "The adaptive systems exceeded every projection we made. Captain, you and your crew have changed the course of galactic history." Behind them, Cho Minho could see celebration in the Earth Defense Headquarters. People were cheering, crying, and embracing each other. For the first time in centuries, humanity had something to be truly proud of. What are your orders, sir? Cho Minho asked. Return home. Admiral Kim replied. Earth has a lot of work to do. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. As the Taeguk traveled through hyperspace, the galaxy continued to react to what had happened at Vega. On the Dominion homeworld of Kethara, the ruling council met in emergency session. Half their military was gone, destroyed by a single enemy vessel. Rebellions were breaking out on a dozen conquered worlds. Other species were demanding independence or threatening to join humanity. We must negotiate, argued Councillor Yexnari. The humans have proven they can destroy us if they choose to. Negotiate? Roared High Commander Velthar. The Dominion does not negotiate with primitives. These primitives just erased our grand fleet, Yexnari replied coldly. Perhaps it is time to reconsider our definition of primitive. But the High Commander was already planning revenge. If the humans thought one victory made them safe, they were mistaken. The Dominion still controlled thousands of worlds and millions of ships. They would rebuild, rearm, and destroy Earth before humanity could spread its dangerous technologies to other species. He had no way of knowing that his plans would never matter. Dr. Park Yuna was not the only brilliant scientist on Earth. While she had designed the Taeguk, dozens of other teams had been working on related projects. The quantum tunneling weapons could be mass-produced. The adaptive shield technology could be installed on any ship. The space-time distortion systems could be scaled up to protect entire star systems. Within 6 months, Earth launched a fleet of 50 vessels based on the Taeguk design. Within a year, they had built 500. Within 2 years, Earth's navy was larger and more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. But humanity did not use this power for conquest. Instead, they offered protection to species that had been enslaved by the Dominion. They shared their technologies with anyone who would use them for peace instead of war. They built schools, hospitals, and research stations on worlds that had known only oppression for centuries. Captain Cho Minho found himself promoted to admiral and placed in command of Earth's first exploration fleet. His mission was to make contact with civilizations beyond Dominion space and offer them friendship instead of subjugation. The Taeguk itself became a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Children on 100 worlds grew up hearing stories about the little ship that had defeated an empire. Artists painted pictures of its battle against impossible odds. Musicians wrote songs about the day humanity proved that small could be mighty. Engineer Oh Ji-won became head of Earth's new Starship Design Bureau. Her first project was a colony ship that could carry 10,000 people to new worlds while defending itself against any threat. Her adaptive shield technology made every human vessel nearly indestructible. Lieutenant Nam Subin founded the Galactic Communication Network, a quantum-based system that allowed instant communication between any 2 points in the galaxy. For the first time in history, isolated species could talk to each other without going through Dominion intermediaries. Dr. Yoon Hyok returned to his research, working on even more advanced applications of space-time manipulation. His theories would eventually lead to faster-than-light travel methods that made hyperspace look slow, opening up distant galaxies for exploration. The Galactic Dominion tried to resist the changes, but they found themselves fighting a war they could not win. Every time they attacked a human ship, their weapons were absorbed and turned against them. Every time they conquered a world, Earth's fleets would arrive to liberate it. Within 5 years, the mighty empire that had ruled for 10,000 years had collapsed completely. Some Dominion worlds joined the new galactic alliance that humanity had founded. Others chose independence. A few tried to maintain the old ways, but they found themselves isolated and ignored by the rest of the galaxy. On Earth, memorials were built to honor the crew of the Taeguk and all the humans who had made the victory possible. But the greatest memorial was the galaxy itself, transformed from a place of oppression to a place of hope. Captain Lee Soo-young, who had become Cho Minho's second in command, stood with him on the observation deck of their new flagship. Through the viewport, they could see a busy spaceport where ships from dozens of species came and went in peace. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "All the responsibility, all the changes we had to make?" Cho Minho thought about the question for a long moment. "Someone once told me that with great power comes great responsibility. Humanity has the greatest power in the galaxy now. We have to use it wisely. And if we make mistakes, then we learn from them and do better next time. That is what humans do best." In the distance, a small ship was leaving the spaceport. It looked very much like the original Teguk, sleek and white and deceptively simple, but this one was carrying seeds and medical supplies to a world that had just achieved independence from the old empire. It was exactly the kind of mission the Teguk had been built for. Before anyone knew it would change the galaxy forever, the Empire had mocked Earth's prototype. They had called it a toy, a joke, a waste of time and resources. They had been wrong about everything. The little ship that everyone had laughed at had indeed erased their grand fleet. But more than that, it had erased the very idea that might made right, that the strong should rule the weak, that the galaxy belonged to whoever could take it by force. In its place, humanity had planted something new, the idea that intelligence was stronger than brutality, that cooperation was better than conquest, and that even the smallest voice deserved to be heard. The galactic dominion was gone. The age of humanity had begun, and in the end that made all the difference.